Since we're live at Wizard World, we're going to spend some time talking about Wizard World today.
You know, one of my favorite things about any type of convention is cosplay.
Yes, there's been quite a few cosplay here, but...
As a matter of fact, I've been impressed by one particular group of cosplayers. You know what they have going on?
What do they have going on?
They have an entire dance routine.
Really?
Let's take a look.
Very good, guys. That was awesome.
That was amazing.
Wow.
That brings me indescribable joy.
That did. Like, Aladdin was booking it back there, man. He was
I just want to stuff him into a lamp and take him home with me.
Oh,
So, I like to think there was Jeremy, Phil.
You know what? Yeah, guys, come on over here.
Say who you
Say
are.
your names and who
Come
you
on,
are.
wherever you are.
Just come on
Come back
behind
here.
us. So we'll just have you line up and sound off so everyone knows who you are.
That is
Aladdin, Tomas.
My name is Luigi, but my real name is Vincent.
I'm Blake, but I'm also Daniel.
I forgot who I am.
that's Mario.
Mario Jeremy.
How's it going? My name is Phil, but I'm also Blue Link, but a lot of people call me Blue Zella for some reason.
Clayton.
So what inspired you guys?
And Shy Guy.
Shy Guy, Manuel, right?
So you guys decided let's do a dance routine to Nintendo and Aladdin, apparently.
Well, I technically am a Nintendo too. And
You were better on Sega.
Super Nintendo, yeah.
No, the Capcom Super Nintendo game was pretty fun.
Okay.
That was a fun game. Also, Aladdin was on the SO43 in Nintendo Power.
Yeah. We're just
I get that.
we're just a group of Nintendo fans / Disney fans known as Nintendo 128, and we do this at anime conventions, comic book conventions. You know, we just want to make sure everyone's having a fun time and a memorable convention.
Also, we have a little campaign called Operation Power Up. But more on that later.
All right, so it was fun to meet you guys. Good look at the costume contest. Who you guys are heading down there right now?
Yes, thank you so much.
You guys have my vote?
Good to the masses.
Yes,
We look forward to dealing with y'all again in the future.
definitely. Oh,
We gotta give you a coin.
this is why I love fandom.
And that's what we're gonna really spend some time talking about today, because Pocky brought up a really interesting point this week about geek fandom versus other fandoms. Other fandoms, he put it better than I could ever put it.
Basically, in geek fandoms, we are willing to cross-pollinate. You have Doctor Who fans who are also Trekkies, who are also into comic books, who also do video games.
Oh, that's not true. I'm going to murder her later.
Well, that's okay. But I mean, we're more willing to divide ourselves out and have a lot of fun doing it. You could be a Doctor Who fan, and then the next minute you go to a panel talking about how to cook, Catan food or something.
Gosh, I think that'd be a great
Why do I have to
panel.
bring up cookbooks again?
But we're sports fans and a couple other ones. It's like if you're a baseball fan, generally you're just a baseball fan. If you're a football fan, you're a football fan. In many cases, you're just a fan of a particular team, or even if you're a college guy, maybe just one state.
Yeah.
So why is it with comic books, not comic books, but general geekdom, you are more open?
And
I have a theory.
at conventions, it's especially evident because you see them all melding together and taking pictures together and doing stuff like this together, and just
Well,
it's very
all
evident.
the cosplay mashups where you've got two different things coming in. Honestly, most of steampunk, in steampunk's early, really popular years, was just an excuse to just redecorate whatever you had. You had the great steampunk Boba Fett, you had the steampunk Xaviers. It was all an excuse to just take multiple fandoms and meld them into one thing.
I know there's a lot of fandoms, like the Homestuck fandom, which I don't know if you guys know about that at all.
Okay, now, you're gonna have to explain this homesick thing.
The Homestuck, geez,
I like how he's like,
such a
homesick?
long time.
It's an online comic.
It's an online comic, and it's about 4 kids and 12 trolls, and then later 4 more kids and 12 more trolls, who basically bring about the end of the world while trying to stop the end of the world.
That seems kind of counterproductive, don't you think?
It's really complicated.
Kids these days and their post-apocalypses.
Yeah.
But the point of it is that there's a lot of fandoms that disclude the Homestuck fandom because they don't like us, and I'm not sure why.
I have a theory on that. I think it's because Homestuck actually does apply very well, like age appropriately. It's something that you can read if you're in your preteens through teens and feel like it really does apply to you the way that most mainstream comics right now really don't. And it has lots of female characters in it that you can actually not think are, kind of, the female characters in it aren't all dressed like they're a Victoria's Secret model or something like that. I was trying to be diplomatic for once. And so basically anything that has a strong appeal to young people, especially young people including women, tends to grate against certain older fans, like the over 35 bearded guys. Not that
Why
we're
is
saying...
it I can't go with beard. This is 6 months worth right here. And
I'm over 35, but I'm more willing.
But you know what I'm talking about as far as the stereotypes. I mean, I hate to say it, but like the really hardcore comic guys that spend every Wednesday at the shop don't like things that are making it really really accessible to young people, especially to women. They want to have it separated out as their own boys club.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree with that. But they also, and I'm not saying it's just Homestuck, but there's a lot of guys like they look at webcomics the same way like some people look at like people who make content on the internet.
Yeah.
If you're not on television, you don't count.
Yeah.
Hey, we're on television. Don't knock it, okay?
But at the same
We're
time,
live right now.
But there are some people who also, it's like, but you're also on YouTube. That's where you do most of your work. And yeah, that's true. But There are
I
people-
agree. There's and it's a real pity because webcomics in particular are going through an amazing renaissance. In addition to Homestar, I was about to say Homestar because there are so many good ones. There's a ton of things that I read that both the format and of course the content sometimes with words that we can't actually say on live television
And
are
there's,
things that can't fit into a 3-panel comic strip and don't fit in with the traditional DC or Marvel formats.
Right.
And there's more and more webcomics are becoming relevant because people are moving on to technology instead of the actual books, and so we're seeing people create all of these webcomics and they're only available on the web, and sometimes you can buy them in book form, but it's mostly on the web.
Yeah. I would say that most of the more popular webcomics I've read, after they're, say, 3 years old, they might get a book, because they usually get started by some passionate guy who's just doing this on weekends, and it takes a while to build up that much content. It's exactly the opposite of the way that, Marvel and DC do it.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, with Marvel and DC, they're doing the opposite. But then you guys got like IDW and Red 5 Studios who do some awesome content, and they immediately, like the minute they noticed that the web started getting big, they're like, you know what, we need to jump on this. We need to get on Comixology. We need to make as much content as we're making in the in network, in physical form, put that on the web. And that's why I think like IDW is getting like Doctor Who, Star Trek, Ghostbusters, and they're getting all these franchise titles that you normally would go to Marvel and DC, because it's like, you know what, you have Doctor Who fans who can't go to a comic book store because they're in Ohio. And
How can anybody not get to a comic book store? There's one in every town.
Not in every town. I'm thinking about like Ohio.
Did you just say you can't get to the comic book store?
No, I can get to the comic book store, but I faint for those who can't.
Yeah.
See, I can't fathom not being able to go pick up comics somewhere.
It depends on the size of town. It really does. I mean, I don't like living in really small towns, but under 50,000, there's a lot of cities that don't have it, and half of America is still rural, which is really easy to forget. Half the population does not live in a city.
And
they're all
even
farmers.
states that are like, I don't want to say Texas, but like California stuff, there's still really small towns in those areas. And yeah, driving in, say, a major city, that may be a day event. And so yeah, you may go once a month to a comic book shop. That's
You've
like,
got a big pull list at that point.
yeah. Or you can get on your, computer, go to Comixology and read that week's issue that week.
Well, not only that, like, as much as I like the feel of physical books in my hands, man, you can look at my bookcases and tell exactly when I got my Kindle. Because that's the date when
they're like a
everything
stopping
just
point,
tapers right off.
Right.
And I hate to say, I have become one of these people that if I do buy a hardback now, it's because I want it on my shelf so people will see it, or because I want to loan it out. But I think that physical books are turning into more of a status item.
I'm entirely ebook and digital everything. It just takes up way less space.
Right.
And so getting back to the webcomics, it just makes more sense. It's something that you can read on your phone or on a tablet these days. It's very portable. They're in nice digestible chunks, although I don't know about you, but when I'm reading a webcomic, I may start in a nice digestible chunk, and then if it's one that I'm just starting with, like, call me back in 7 hours, this is really good. So.
And so you were talking about this one that you like and how fandom's kind of not embracing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel?
That makes me feel very sad. It's just because the Homestuck fandom is so nice and everyone in it is
They're
really
super
supportive.
wholesome.
Yeah, and we're all one big family and we're willing to include everyone. But most fandoms, Super Hulock included mostly, because Super Hulock is like this alliance of people, especially on Tumblr, that's Sherlock and Supernatural and Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And for some reason, they despise the Homestucks.
I don't understand why.
I don't know.
Because I like them both, and this genuinely baffles me.
I think it kind of going with a sports analogy. It's almost going with the, how dare you be a Red Sox fan? You should be a Yankees fan.
Yeah, but that kind of goes in the face of what we see at these conventions where everybody's just intermingling together. Like, we've met webcomic artists, we've met everybody else, and everybody just kind of meshes. So I find it really hard to understand why people would go against something as harmless as a webcomic.
Yeah.
For no
Well, at
reason.
the same time, when we're talking about these sort of dividing lines, what I did not see a lot of here, anime fans. Anime fans have their own separate conventions.
Oh, yeah.
They do not play with the rest of us. Not out of malice or anything, but like they've got a very thriving, active subculture that used to be part of the giant umbrella of fandom. But now this one's really more of a media convention. This is movies, books, a little bit, movies, TV, and comics.
We do bring up a valid point about we didn't see much anime because it is like this
they just weren't
entirely
there.
different fandom that I try to avoid,
anime,
honestly.
much like them, is also aimed at much younger people. Like I feel, and I know that not everyone agrees with me, but I feel that a lot of people really age out of anime by 30 because you become the creepy person at the convention. You're laughing because it's true. It's true. You know, if I at an anime convention, people walk up to me and go, "Have you lost your son?" And if I say, "No, I'm just here," they are instantly creeped out.
Like, I haven't been to an anime convention in years and years and years. I went to
When you were
Japan.
age appropriate for it, was a lot.
I don't think it was age appropriate for Japan. I was in my late 20s, and I was just like, free hugs. You all are like wearing no clothes, and you're underage. I'd rather not go to jail. I'm going away. That's how I put it.
And here's the great thing about the fandom she was talking about is, as opposed to a lot of the negative stereotypes that anime has, I love Homestar as a response to that because it's wholesome. Like all the kids I've met that are into it are really nice, and they're not nice in like the creepy free hugs way. They're nice in the like
The creepy free hugs.
you know what I mean.
There are a lot
Sure.
of people in Homestuck that carry around the free hug sign.
That is a young person thing. I'm cool with that. I know I sound like I should be throwing rocks off my lawn right now, but it really is just a sweet fandom in general.
It is. The thing about Homestuck though is that you have to be really careful. The anime people don't like us because
Yeah.
a lot of people think that Homestuck is an anime, which it's not.
Yeah.
And so if you were to go to an anime convention dressed in a Homestuck outfit, you'd probably get shredded to pieces and thrown out the front door.
So bringing it back to our original topic of, of inclusiveness, I feel like there are several smaller umbrellas that people can fall under that are very, very inclusive. So for example, here at this particular, we're at Austin Comic Con, there are a ton of other people, you can get
Dr.
inside
Who's
all sorts of TARDISes, gentlemen, let me tell you, here at the convention.
Hey, we're in a PG-rated show here, okay? We're not propositioning you on the air. Although if you're interested, I will be taking bids later.
There's also plenty of doctors, also a lot of gender crossplay with the doctors. A lot of that going on. There's also, fandom-wise, a ton of other comic books as well as the Doctor Who things. Thor, tons of Thors here. A few too many Deadpools. I'm sorry, gentlemen. If you can't wear that, there's a limit to how much spandex should be stretched. I apologize. I realize that cosplay should be for everyone, but maybe you should go with the cargo pants Deadpool costume instead of the spandex one if you're pushing like 250.
Or
I'm just
jump,
saying.
or the jump parachute pants Deadpool thing.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
fine.
really?
I'm not saying don't dress as Deadpool. Just, be aware of your body.
I've seen a couple slightly traumatic Deadpool costumes in the last few
I can
hours.
do this. Slightly traumatic. Like,
There's a lot of Deadpools here. There's a lot.
There's
20
there's
years.
also a lot of Thors.
hey, if
And
we
the
talk
Thor
about
makes complete
cosplay,
sense to me because there's a brand new Thor movie out, and
Yeah.
fandom does tend to follow whatever's currently trendy
Right.
with that.
Yeah, but here's my question: where's Loki?
You know what? I'm so sick
Thank
of Lokis.
you.
Let there be as many Thors. I am so sick of the Lokis all over the internet. You can scoot away all you want, whatever.
I'm even looking at you weird, like, really? Because most times when they get a Loki, the guy does it really well.
Yeah.
It's like Thor and Loki, like the guys who do those costumes, I'm not dissing anyone else, but those guys, they just go all out.
Although, my favorite costumes, I've got to say so far here, speaking of the Thor tie-in, were some older gentlemen that I loved this so much, that were dressed as Odin and a couple of Odin's drinking buddies.
Oh, I
and
saw that.
they were fantastic.
They were awesome.
They weren't dressed as the comic Odin. They were basically trying to pagan it up. So they had these giant actual animal horns on,
Animal skins.
animal
It was
skins.
good.
Odin had feathers as his eye patch covering his eye up, giant staffs, and they were raunching it up. They were having a really good time with that. They were trying to act more like the depiction of Norse gods in Norse mythology, and I was like, well done, gentlemen. I approve of that as a variation on cosplay.
And we actually have that on film that you guys will see
Yeah.
on cosplay tapes later. And you had made a point earlier that you can tell where fandom's going by the amount of cosplay you see. You see more Doctor Who this year because it's big Doctor Who.
Yeah.
You saw a lot of Thor because there's a lot of Thor. And whereas we get someone like Lauren who does something completely original. Tell everyone what you are.
Well, this is one of my original characters, and her name is Papetra, and she has kind of a long backstory. Do you want me to tell it anyways?
Tell your backstory.
Okay, so basically what happened is when she was born, her mother didn't want her, which has nothing against my mother.
Yeah, her mom was like,
like my
what are you
mother is
thinking when you read this?
I love my mother. She's over there. Hi, Mom.
Hi,
Mom
Mom.
on TV. No, but basically she was not wanted by her mother, and as soon as she could walk and hold things, was forced to be like a slave to her mother. And when she turned 5, her mother decided she was not good enough and threw her onto the streets, where she was picked up by the police and thrown into the foster care system, where she was put into houses that also made her work. And when she turned 14, not sure exactly how it's happened yet because I'm still working on the story a bit, but basically somebody told her something and it kind of clicked in her mind that just because mother says doesn't mean daughter does, and that she didn't have to be a servant, and that it was wrong of people to make her work, because all she had ever done was work because her mother made her work, and you do what your mother wants when you're young because you think if that's what mom says to do, mom knows things and that's what I should do.
So give us a little bit of the story for having your mouth ripped open.
Well, basically what happened is that when she figured that out, she cracked, and she decided that she got very sad, and she decided that she didn't want to be sad anymore, and so she cut herself a smile, much like
the Joker
story, except she did it to herself.
Yeah.
And then she sewed it shut, and I don't have my puppet on my hand right now.
It's a super creepy little fox puppet with a squeaky toy inside.
It was, yeah.
Do you find that a lot of other younger people are doing original characters these days?
There aren't a lot of people. I know a few people at my school that do it.
Okay.
But people are not confident in their character ideas.
Yeah.
They're just, I told some of my friends about this at lunch at school, and they were like, I could never do that. I can't go anywhere with my characters.
See, one of the reasons I'm asking is, I'm second generation fandom, so in my mother's day, back in the 70s when she was going to conventions, it was all original characters. That's all anybody did, was you made up your own thing, because we didn't have this like wonderful, rich bed of fandom that we have now that you can fall back on. So if you look at pictures from the 70s, it's all these crazy homemade costumes of all original characters. And then somehow in the 80s, that did a complete flip-flop where suddenly you shouldn't come to a convention in something original. You better show up in either Star Wars or Star Trek, and that was about it at the time. Maybe some Battlestar Galactica.
Probably some Battlestar.
Or Doctor Who. You
Not,
could put a rug carpet on yourself and call yourself something from Dimension Y.
it wasn't as popular here in the U.S. at that point, so I can't speak for that. But I love looking at these older fandom pictures of everybody in these original costumes. Everybody else around them is just hamming it up and having a good time with it. And so I love it when I see someone who's actually at a convention going, you know what? I love all these things that I see online, but I can be original and make up my own character too.
And I when she first walked in this morning, I was like, that is really creepy. She has got this whole persona for it. And I asked her, have people want to take a picture with you? She's like, not really.
Yeah.
Like they just kind of look at her like they're trying to figure out what she's from. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really, really a sad state of affairs in the world of cosplay.
The fun thing about me is I go to a lot of role-playing conventions because I'm a huge role player. And to me, when she was describing that, I'm going, are you part of a Deadlands campaign? What system is this for? Because I go to, when they go to these role-playing conventions, I see a lot more original characters because it's like, I'm my character from Pathfinder, I'm this mage.
That makes a lot of sense, yeah.
Because it's like, to me, I'm looking at this going, so this is more like a Deadlands thing, and you're obviously like some sort of huckster or something. And
I have to laugh because you're talking about Deadlands, and when she was talking, I saw Cinderella singing mice going, Cinderella, Cinderella, and you're on the floor scrubbing while Mama says, I got a queen. That's what I saw.
But I will back off slightly with my previous statement. You're completely correct that at any type of role-playing convention, like the White Wolf conventions, I've been to a couple of those as well because I'm a giant nerd. Everybody there is in something original. If you walked into a White Wolf convention in my TARDIS dress, you're like, so is that what you wore on the street until you put your real costume on?
Yeah.
I mean, and to me, that's like when you do a comic book convention, I've seen a couple of originals, but they're mostly like, I'm part of the Xavier School, or I'm part of Slytherin, House Slytherin, part thing, and then they make their own character up. But yeah, most times when you're at a convention, gaming, or even a video game convention, people are going to dress up as the character they like. I've seen a couple variants like that, like the Gears of War Mario.
Yeah.
But most cases,
I think when you say Gears of War there, that makes me think of steampunk just because Gears.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's part of the appeal that steampunk had for a while there. Like, steampunk's obviously fading. It doesn't look like a boiler exploded here at this convention. There aren't very many. But I think some of the appeal with that was, oh good, I don't have to pretend to be somebody I saw on TV.
Yes.
The majority of people who want to do a character that's not like a completely already made up character, they usually will put a spin on it. Like they will say that they are Doctor Who from, I don't know, the Hunger Games, which makes, they'll do something that doesn't make sense. But
How would the Doctor even fit in the Hunger Games?
Oh, the Doctor would fit fine in the
I've
Hunger
actually
Games.
seen that before, which is kind of scary. It was an interesting costume.
So getting back to the inclusiveness factor though, so as long as you are within, there are definitely certain niches, but those individual
True.
niches have a certain amount of diversity within them. So here at this one, if you're into comics, if you're into TV, if you're into a certain amount of
Movies.
games, definitely movies.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter which movie, which TV show you're into. It's pretty open with all of that.
You're going to find a whole lot of fun things here.
And if you're at an anime convention, honestly, it would be the same way as long as you weren't like beyond that creepy threshold of age. They really don't care which anime you're into as long as you're all there together celebrating anime. With gaming conventions, I find to be the same thing. I mean, if it's a White Wolf convention, you better have a White Wolf character. But if it's something like Origins, or Gen Con, you're all there because you love playing games.
Very much so. So we've been walking around the floors of Wizard World all day, doing all sorts of fun things. And Pocky is our new talent scout. He has literally met, I think, everybody on the floor. What has been your favorite part so far?
She was awesome. Janine,
The book lady.
the book lady. She has this awesome book, and I want to give you the description right now, and you're going to love this.
Okay.
Her husband, her husband works for Blizzard, and she used to work for Blizzard, and she's become a writer. And she has written a book about a woman who plays multiplayer games, and it's part fiction, it's mostly fiction. But she literally wrote this book about basically real people who play video games.
Okay.
But it's not like the whole stereotype, like I'm so he who has no life. But like it's like they live a normal life, and she has this alternative character she plays.
It's really hard to describe when I'm listening to you talk about it because you have to hear. She's trying to change the view of women gamers and women in fandom, period. And she was so friendly. She's going to be on the show soon.
Oh, fantastic.
Like, she is incredibly excited to be on the show. She was very about the fans, as opposed to some of the other people who were very standoffish.
Yeah.
She was hugging us. She was taking pictures with people in costume. And we were talking, and it was like, we're trying to change the image of fanboy geek into something more open. And she's trying to change the image of gamer to something that's not someone living in someone's basement going,
It fascinates me that stereotype is still around because right now, gaming actually makes more money than movies from what I understand. It's crossed that threshold. Everybody does it just about. And on top of that, there's just, on top of that, there are just so many people that are like in a dorm room gaming, that are having friends over for gaming parties. Honestly, us with our size are kind of the exception these days as opposed to the norm. It's really more an everyday activity, I feel, especially when you come to young men. Like, games are designed to appeal to that coveted 17 to 24 demographic, and they do a fantastic job. Like, those guys don't leave their house. They'll be there for 16 hours playing a game.
But then at the same time, there is, I'm about to go review a game called, and I'm going to need help pronouncing this correctly. Shiva? It is the Jewish time of morning.
Sitting Shiva, yeah.
Thank you. And I'm going to not say it right now because I'm very tired. But basically, it is a game about a rabbi who's given a large amount of money. He's a fairly older gentleman who's trying to find out why this person who had this huge argument with many years ago mysteriously died and left him a lot of money. And it's a point-and-click murder mystery game.
Huh.
And I learned about Jewish culture while I was doing it.
I learned?
I know, but I learned what Goya means, and I learned all these different phrases. The book even comes with a English to Yiddish translator, so it can help you.
I apologize for cringing a little when I hear that, because so many times if I see something like that done, if you're actually part of whatever culture it is, like with me being Jewish, you're like, oh, could you just not do that, please? I really very rarely see that well done. Just like depictions of fandom are very rarely that well done by outsiders.
The gentleman who did it is actually a rabbi himself.
Okay.
So it's not like, and I actually want you to play it actually, but it's done by a gentleman who's actually a rabbi. He came up with this murder mystery, but he's like, I want to turn it into a video game instead, because he loved old point and click games.
Cool.
So it's a lot of different, but I think, yes, there's that covenant 17 to 30-year-old male they want. But it's like the movie and the TV industry. You can make that all day long, but then you make the stuff that appeals to everyone over 30. You make that for the females. You make it, and the gaming is finally getting to that point where you don't have to always cater to the 17 to 30 male.
Do any of you guys listen to the Freakonomics podcast?
No.
I do, actually, on occasions, once in a while.
It's fantastic. I highly recommend it to everybody.
I do too.
There was the most recent one. They were actually talking about gaming and 17 to 24-year-old males, and one of the guys, the same guy that has a theory about crime dipped a lot about 20 years after the 70s, when a lot of the unwanted kids that would have been born were aborted, because hey, abortion became legal, and so suddenly the kids that really their parents didn't want them weren't on the streets committing crimes, is his personal theory. And his theory right now about why crime has dipped again, the demographic that commits the most crime are teenage and early 20 males. What are they doing right now that is more addictive than anything else? They are staying home and playing games. An amazing number of men in that demographic age, if you ask them, and I believe them, would rather play games than have sex. And it could be that a lot of them are like, well, games are a little bit more accessible than sex at my age, but...
It also depends. I mean, like right now, the nerd culture is booming. And to be honest, probably if I was at that age, to be honest, I was that guy. It's like sex
but
and video games.
I absolutely love the theory that part of the reason that crime has dipped in the last few years is the guys that would be committing the crimes are at home committing them on Grand Theft Auto instead.
That's very interesting to put.
And I could see it. I like to see the numbers. I like to see where this guy actually, because Freakonomics, they generally don't say something totally random.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike us, we say random stuff all the time.
But I could see where he could come up with that theory. But at the same time, like, the reason Pinche Games and a couple other ones are so popular is because they went away from that 17 to 20, 30 market. They said, hey, we're going to go after the casual market, the female market. I mean,
well, I think that what you're saying really is that the market itself has grown so much as consoles have become ubiquitous in households that there's enough space to make games for more than just the equivalent of a blockbuster movie. Because for a long time, games are so expensive to make, the only things that were being made were the things that would get you the same income as a blockbuster. And now you can branch out more because you know that there's that long tail.
I think also part of it is the fact that the indie developing market is picking up. The fact and the fact that also we're getting to the first and second generation of kids basically raised on Nintendo, Super Nintendo, the Sega Genesis.
Can you remember a time when you didn't have a game console at home?
Yes, like my entire life. No, I have a game console. I have a game console, but my family has been like pretty behind in things. So my sister and I've had our DSs for quite a while, and then we've had a Wii. Unfortunately, we haven't gotten.
We're so sorry that you have a Wii.
I know. It's okay. We have the Wii that is no longer in production, too.
Oh, wow. Well, do you have friends, though, that have grown up in households that not only had a computer, but also had game consoles for as long as they can remember?
Yes. One of my friends, her family is an entire family of gamers, and she and her mom and her sister will stay up forever playing games all night long, and they kind of fail school sometimes because they're just...
I gotta say, I completely relate to this, because a bonding moment with my mother was we played Ultima 4 on the Commodore 64, which is not a multiplayer game.
No,
and we
not.
would take
He's all
Oh, come on. At the time, it was great.
Ultima 4 had that really touching moment.
But I don't know what it is, because here's what happened. My mother and I played this game, and we would like make sure that both of us were there, unless we're just like doing the equivalent of raiding and just getting some gold farming or whatever.
Yeah.
And then one day when I was at school, she won the game and saved it on accident, because she's just so used to saving out of habit. I get home, it's done. I have no idea what's in the castle, and I pretty much didn't speak to her for a few weeks because we were both so invested in that particular game. But it doesn't even have to be something designed to be a multiplayer game. If your family really wants to game together, God, it can be addictive.
And I really like the idea of that, because your mom brought you up. You're a second generation.
I am.
I'm a gamer raising my son. Lauren's mom is a really big geek. It's awesome. I mean, we were just having all sorts of fun down there.
This is her sister's portal gun.
Yeah, I mean,
this 2 days ago, and it
I'm
came
getting
in
married
Express
at the end of next year, and
I'm pretty sure we'll have little Pocky beards running around.
Yeah, little Pocky and little Loudmouses running around. But I mean, we've even talked about that. It's like, you know, if we have a family, we're still going to be a total geeks. I mean, I know a gentleman who literally is running a gaming store. 2 weeks after his gaming store opened, his first child was born, and that gaming store, everyone in part of it has been raising that daughter.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to do a whole episode one day on geek parents, but I think that helps the children grow up to be more imaginative with your own ideas. and you don't feel like you have to fit within a certain mold. I absolutely love
And I've
that.
got to say, personally, as someone who is a second generation fan, I love having grown up in geek culture because geek culture is actually amazingly protective over kids. There's a bad reputation as far as just the cosplay side of things, but man, at one point I was at a convention, I had like kind of just blossomed a little bit. Some guy that wasn't even with the con walked over, was like, hey, and just kind of hassling me, like, leave me alone. Hasses me a little more, like, leave me alone. The minute I raised my voice, and this is going to date me a little bit, 4 Klingons were suddenly surrounding me. I did not know these 4 Klingons. They just turned to him like, excuse me, do you have a problem with the lady? I don't know these guys, they're just protecting me because I'm a kid at a con. Like, I was talking to her. The minute she raised her voice, you were talking to us. And that's the kind of environment that you see at an awful lot of conventions. It's great, it really is. I think it's a fantastic way to grow
There's
up.
a wonderful story from about 2 years ago at a Comic-Con. A little boy got lost, and he was very lost, and he saw a couple dressed up as the Flash and Wonder Woman, and he went up to them because he knew they were superheroes, and they helped him get to the police and help him find his kids.
And see, that's just a whole little fun thing going on. What else I have to laugh at is, as we're talking about fandom and everything that we're doing, we've got fans in the background dancing around on camera.
Ironically, there are a ton of children passing behind the camera as we talk, which is fantastic.
And that's one of the things about some of these conventions is you get so many families. I love looking at the families that are doing this and bonding together. It's a little unfortunate they have to pay so much money to do it, because some things are really out of price.
One of my favorite family costumes I saw here, did you see the Predator family?
Yes.
The Predator family not only had the mama Predator and the daddy Predator and the son Predator, but the youngest daughter, and I don't know why they did this, but she was adorable with it, was as an alien. So I got to talk to her, like, are you going to make the 2 of them fight to the death? And they're a Predator family. They're totally rolling with me talking about having their children fight to the death.
Yesterday when I was here, there was a family. The mother was the Red Queen. The youngest daughter was you saw it was the youngest daughter was Alice. They had a newborn baby. She was the white. I don't know.
She was a Cheshire Cat.
The Cheshire Cat. And the dad was
the Mad Hatter.
I thought it was the Knave of Hearts.
Oh,
it could have been either or, but yeah, it was.
He looks like the Mad Hatter.
They were just rolling around.
That's fantastic.
One of the more interesting things is at Gen Con. If you look at a lot of pictures, there's so many dads and moms there with their kids doing role playing and board games.
I'm gonna be that mom. I'm gonna be the mom who buys the kids
it's
comic
totally
books.
worth it. I think that your mom over there would agree that it's totally worth it.
Like one of the things that my son's like, hey, I want a pack of eels. I can just make it. I can make him anything that he really wants to do. My favorite story is I get the call. Do you know what your son is doing right now? What? He's in the corner coloring himself dark black because he wants to be a stingray. Will you talk to him? So I get on the phone and say, hey, what are you doing? He goes, nothing. I said, are you coloring yourself to be a stingray? He's like, yeah. I said, do you want me to try to make you a laser beam for your head so you can be a laser mounted stingray? He's like, yeah. I said, give the phone back to your mom. I'm like, everything can wash, and we're not pretentious and we're not stuck up. But we're going to move on to, because that's a whole other show about geek parents. One of the other fandoms that's big right now is the Hunger Games, because Catching Fire just got released. Have you guys read the books?
Yes.
I unfortunately have not.
Okay, well, we're going to spoil it for you. Kids fight to the death. Okay.
I know the premise. I know enough about it. My future sister-in-law is huge into it, and I feel at this point I don't have to read it. I know enough.
Well, here's my advice to you, because Chris-Rachael and I saw Catching Fire this week earlier.
Yes.
Watch the movies. They make really good movies as opposed to books, because I went into the first one, I'm a Battle Royale fan, straight up. I hated the first Hunger Games.
He had a lot to say about Battle Royale.
A lot to say, right? But as you get into the second book and it starts becoming its whole different thing, this movie was fantastic.
I was really impressed. The first movie, it was okay, in the same way that the first Harry Potter movie, you're like, well, that's a very loyal rendition of the book, a little bit soulless, but nice for making some money, I suppose. This one was just a good movie to watch.
Was it?
It really was.
I was disappointed with the first one because
I agree the first one wasn't great.
I'm very specific on movie reality because I was a Percy Jackson fan, and then I saw the Percy Jackson movies.
Yeah.
And I died inside.
We're so sorry
That
about
was
that.
awful. I died inside.
Please tell me you watched Sea of Monsters and walked out.
Yeah, I did. It was bad. It was bad. But I was I thought it was good. I thought it was a good representation, but I was very disappointed at some of the important details that they missed.
You do have to. Same with Ender's Game. If you're taking a book and turning it into a movie, you've just got to trim some things down. And they did that with the second Hunger Games movie as well.
They really streamlined
There are some things that are
Catching
streamlined.
Fire.
But I feel like they did a really good job with what they chose to leave out. They also, the acting just kicked it up a notch. They really did. Because I felt like Jennifer Lawrence was just phoning it in with the first movie.
Yeah.
And with the second one, she was the lead actress. There's no question. She did a fantastic job with that.
I just liked the way, because I liked the way they filmed the first one, but this movie, like, the way that they had the camera shots and the way that they portrayed everything, like when there's this thing and you see the blinking light with the Hunger Games logo.
Yeah.
And
the special effects were fantastic on this one.
The seeds of the rebellion are up and everything, so it was a really, really good time.
Yeah.
I was expecting to just be like, whatever, but we were like enthralled.
Yeah.
It was a little long, I'll give it that much.
I honest to goodness, could have added another 20 minutes to it.
Do you know
You
what
would have
the
done like the
runtime was?
director's cut, like Lord of the Rings had a 4 hours Catching Fire.
Yeah, I also want to watch the 4-hour Dune again sometime soon. So,
Here's my thing about the first one. You guys said she phoned it in. Did you guys hear all the all the hard times that woman was getting from the studios?
No.
They wanted her to lose 30 pounds. They wanted her to do.
She's this big around already.
Well, she's normal sized, and that's the problem. They want. She even said the studio constantly was pushing her to lose more weight, to be this thick person. She goes, no, because there's going to be girls, young ladies, watching this thing, and they're going to think this is the ideal person to be. She didn't want to be Kristen Stewart. She wanted to be herself.
Yeah.
Who wants to be Kristen Stewart, honestly?
Well, the studio, because that's easily marketable.
Yeah.
How? She has no emotion.
Right. Selling something with no emotions and soul is very easy.
So anyway, both of us completely agree. Two hosts agree you should watch The Hunger Games.
Which doesn't happen very often on this show.
It really, honestly, I can't remember the last time that we actually just sat down and said, yep, we both completely agree on something.
Yeah.
We're done now.
So we've got about 10 minutes left. I want to talk about what your favorite thing at Wizard World was. We'll start with Lauren because we talked to you. What was your favorite thing about this convention? Besides, getting to be in our presence on this awesome show.
Right, this was obviously my favorite thing. My second favorite thing was probably, it's not necessarily a feature of the con, but the fact that I walked around with my hat like this, just below everyone's eyes, so everyone only saw my mouth. So I didn't actually get to see anyone's reactions, but last night and today my mom said that people were like cringing and staring, and I was really excited because I was like,
I think what
yay, I came to scare
you won't
people.
get to see this little puppet, I think also helps because you go like this and you've got it kind of moving, and she's got the whole persona for this character down. Like, it's brilliant, and I can't wait to see what you're going to do with it in the future because it's creepy fun.
My mom found apparently like an agency type thing where you can submit your character, and if they think it's good, then they'll give you writers and artists.
Was it here at the convention?
Yeah.
See?
And they'll,
I saw them too.
That's one of the things actually that I really like about the convention. There are a ton of writers here. There's a ton of artists here. There's a few fan groups, not that many really.
There really isn't that many fan groups here.
I mean, it's also Austin. There just aren't that many fan groups.
Well, we
to
have
begin
Star
with.
Trek and Star Wars fan groups. That's pretty much it.
We also
the Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
There's brown
Ghostbusters.
coats guys too.
But all of the artists and all of the writers here have been super approachable. Pocky, I mean, talk about that. You've managed to get, 40 or 50 business cards? People are just thrilled that you exist.
44 business cards, 6 flyers, or 10 flyers, something like that. Actually, the lady was my favorite person. You asked who my favorite person I was. My favorite thing, actually, was Comics United. And it's basically it's a website. And if you're a webcomic, not a webcomic, but if you're wanting to become a professional comic writer, artist, color, all 9 yards, and you need that little bit of capital to send you to the next step, it's Kickstarter in reverse. They give you the money if they think you have the talent.
That makes a lot of sense to me because the thing that keeps a lot of people from being able to produce a physical edition, this is something I'm personally very familiar with, is that seed capital to print those first few ones. That actually adds up really fast.
And he had several cosplayers. He had a GLaDOS cosplayer. She sang the 2 closing themes of Portal.
It was awesome.
Perfectly in pitch. But that was my favorite thing I saw at the con because it's just one of those things you're like, why hasn't someone done that before? It's like, duh.
All right, outside of the Doctor Who special, Chris-Rachael, which we're not talking about, what was your favorite part of the convention?
The Doctor Who special.
The Doctor Who special.
No, realistically, my favorite thing, honest to goodness, was I really enjoy doing the cosplay tapes. So being able to walk up to people and just talk to them as though they are the character that they're portraying is a ton of fun. And there were a bunch of cosplayers here that were able to just completely roll with it. Great conversations with them in character. That was just a ton of fun.
I have to say, this is the first time I've ever actually dealt with the artist area at a convention. I normally avoid that. And that's where Pocky was at most of the time. So we went to those booths and talked to those people, and I would never have even imagined how fun they could be. We're going to get them on the show soon. We've got so many people, and their art was just fantastic. Like, I forgot how much I loved comic art.
I mean,
because I'm always I don't even deal with the artist alley. I'm like, who cares, whatever. I was completely taken back to the first time I ever picked up my first comic, which was Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man. And it was just like, this is why I started down this path to begin with. And it was like going down memory lane. So I loved it. And the people, there's a lady, she had this huge afro and she was freaking hilarious. You'll see her soon enough.
Awesome.
The book lady was over there. These guys that were just doodling and drawing, and Phil Ortiz was over there. And I was like, that was like one of my idols right there. And I get to at least look at him and be like, hey,
But in the artist alley, the problem is I don't think calling it the artist alley is a good representation.
Why so?
Because and
I don't like a creator space.
It's more of a creator space because, as you said, there's the guys who are doing the artwork, but then at the same time you have the next table over them is these freelance writers who've worked on. Like, we met a gentleman who worked at BioWare. He's worked for Marvel. He's worked for Blizzard doing their comic book stuff. But then the next table, across from him, is a gentleman who's written a young adult series that's basically Firestarter with Carrie. Except it takes place in a lake community. And and I got to read a segment of it, and he's really, really good, and we're going to have him soon, too. We have all of next year.
Trust me, it's going to be a fun year next year.
But basically... But that's what I'm saying. It's not just artists in the sense of painting and coloring, but it's guys who are doing literature. It's guys who are doing
creative professionals.
But also they had some of the guys from doing makeup, just physical makeup, full on mask.
It was amazing.
It was amazing.
That was when you first walk into. I'm just going to keep calling it the dealer's room because I'm old and that's what they call it at conventions.
That's what it almost is.
Yeah, but or nerd mall as I like to call it these days. But when you first walk into the dealer's room, there was actually a giant Revlon spread where people are doing hair and makeup. And my first impulse when I saw that was just, ew, what is that doing here? And then I paused and took a look to see what they were doing. It was mostly cosplayers who hadn't really had time to do fancy hair and just it wasn't people doing beauty makeup.
No.
And the few people that weren't in some sort of costume, at least that I saw, were like, I didn't have time or I don't have the money for a costume, make me something. And I just loved that you could walk into a convention and just for tips. Of course they're trying to sell hair products and makeup and whatnot, but that's a great way of making it relevant to the convention.
Also, I saw some kids there, and there was kids getting face makeup. There's one little girl.
Yeah, I saw two different groups of face painters.
She had gotten Batgirl's mask, and they did it perfectly. And it was so adorable because she was on cloud 9. They let her go, and she's like, I'm Batgirl now. And it's.
So despite the rocky start to everything here at Wizard World, we did have a really good time.
Ironically, there's one thing that none of us have mentioned.
Which is?
Actors. Allegedly, a lot of people are here because they want to see William Shatner or Norman Reedus and get signatures and things along those lines.
Quite a few people who
and that
do that
really, for all of us, as far as what we're enjoying about a convention, just
the least.
Well, the problem with that is the area they have them in is everyone's there to see them, and so even with some of the more, and I won't say they're small actors, but even some of the actors who only have maybe 2 or 3 roles. Their lines are huge, and it's James Masters, who's one of my favorite actors. He also does a lot of audiobooks, and I just love him. His line was 20 minutes long, and I want to see him
but
too.
It's Spike. Everyone wants to be Spike.
Everyone wants to be Spike. He's been, but he's done
the real point though is. Lines aside, I was willing to wait in line for some things. All of us are willing to wait in lines for a little bit of things, but that wasn't the priority for us, at least.
Yeah.
And I think that this is something that anybody in fandom should keep in mind when you're trying to decide what convention to go to and why. Actors, you can see them on TV. People people, the awesome people in the artist alley, or if you want to call it creative content providers, whatever, the cosplayers, things like that are really the heartblood of a convention, in my opinion.
And I 100% agree with that. Like, I could care less about the celebrities here. It was the fact that we met and just went and found all these independent people who are just passionate and they're about the fans. They're not charging a bunch of people a bunch of money for things. I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
One of the guys, we had an absolute joy when we got to interview him. His name is Michael. I forgot his last name.
He's been writing in Hollywood for 45 years.
Oh, wow.
And he's been there from the golden age to where he called it the crap hole it is now.
But he worked for several writers. He's done some interesting things, and just sitting down and talking to him, because everyone's for Spike Lee or not Spike Lee, but for Stanley or Stanley or whoever. But he was so much fun to talk to, because he's like, yeah, let me tell you about how I got to do this editing. I did this script, but they changed 98% of it. It was fun.
This is the thing that I would like to see this type of media convention add. The classic conventions that I grew up going to have a nightlife, mostly because they take place at a hotel. So like the Dragon Con versus San Diego Comic-Con sort of comparison that I've made before. It would be great if after all this is over, there was some place that we could all go and hang out.
There is an after party.
It's
we're
not quite,
not going to the corporate after party.
Yeah, it's really not
I'm
the
not
same as
going.
having a bunch of fans like opening up their hotel rooms and inviting people in, having a green room, having some sort of open space where you're actually encouraged to go and mingle. And that's the thing that they really don't have here. Like, we were all very aggressive with getting out there and talking to people, but a lot of people, not just fans, are not going to walk up to a total stranger and be like, hey, you're in a costume, I want to talk to you, I want to talk to you, I want to talk to you. I will, but that's why they actually only let me out for 4 hours a day.
4 hours a day. We're out of our 4 hours a day. We've got about 2 minutes left, and I want to thank you, Lauren, for being on the show and hanging out with us today. I hope we were entertaining.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
It has been fun, right? Live TV is hilarious, and I want to thank Chris, who we had lunch with. He's been a fan of the show for a while. We just they ran into him, and we all ended up in the same restaurant together.
We do have live fans, I promise you. We're not just making them up.
So, in the last 2 minutes, we have... Our next show is going to be the first week in December. We're going to be talking about time travel. Is it possible?
I can't wait.
Because I'm going to be
I have some things to say about time travel.
88.8 miles an hour. That's how we do it.
Oh.
And then we're going to have a geek gift guide starting in December as well. And we're kicking off. Then we're going to take a few weeks off for the holidays because, we all have families. We want to do stuff. Mm-hmm. Then in January, we're kicking off with our Best of 2013 show. And we've got...
We've got a whole bunch of new shows.
Yeah, we've got the guys behind Jasco Games, the Mega Man board game in January. We've got our first fan group on the television show. We've got another graphic artist. We've got a great 2014 lined up.
Also, I want to, because I keep reminding you of this, Gavin, Fanboy TV is going to add new shows.
Yes, and we have new shows really quick. We've got 1 minute. Tell them.
Okay, we have Yards of Dice starring me and another gentleman. It's all about pen and paper role-playing games. Chris-Rachael and another young lady named Courtney Hosier is going to be doing Ladies of Fandom, the female side of nerd culture. And we've got so much other.
We've got Interesting Cat as well. Is coming.
Interesting Cat. We have new podcasts. We have Neutral Gamers. We have brought back Graveyard Shift. And everyone should check these shows out on our website.
FanboyTV.com.
FanboyTV.com. Well, thank you guys for joining us live from Wizard World. We hope to do more live things in the future, so we'll see how it goes. And we'll see y'all in December.
Okay, sleeping time.
What did you think?
That was pretty awesome.
It was fun.
I enjoyed that.
I
Yes.
told you, once you
It's for us. After a while, that camera just disappears. By the time you notice it, some kids are behind it.
Or if you have all the bright lights that you can't see very far out, that's how we normally work it.
It was fascinating to see how many children were just really fascinated by the camera. Like every kid that passed by was like, "Ooh, what's up with that?" Oh, I think it's fantastic. I mean, I know we don't have the time and manpower to just stop them and be like, "Here's how cameras work, kids." But I just love the fascination with it.
I like the whole that there's so many families here.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that's truly put a smile on my face is
The whole family issue.
this whole family. It's you know, Comic Con, you get that
Linda,
stereotype.
did you have a good time?
Big Bang gives you.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, don't get me started on the Big Bang Theory.
It's the blackface of it's the blackface.
All right, good.
But it's
Go
just
have
a whole
fun.
stereotype, but then at the same time, it's like no. There's the
She's
there
doing
is
it.
that guy with the beard
What's she gonna
walking
do?
around. Guess what? He's got his son. He does have a wife.
We're gonna
He's
see.
awesome.
We're gonna see what happens
Well, as
next
I
year.
like to tell people, look at Think Geek. I mean, of course, I'm biased with Think Geek.
We just need the stage.
I
We need
couldn't
that
got
stage.
you the stage.
We were
They
supposed to
auctioning off a poster.
That's what they put in our time.
Yeah, no, easy. Because people would have loved this.
Yeah.
Okay, I am on your side with the ranting. I actually minorly chewed him out. Oh, oopsies, in person.
Yeah, she went off on Jerry this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, but
And
Steve
I completely
here
agree.
At,
Like,
at 10 after 6, he seemed way open to anything.
we tried. I mean, we allegedly had all of this arranged for months, and Jerry just sort of decided, never mind.